She left. No explanation. Just a short note on the kitchen table. I can't live like this anymore. Don't come looking for me. I froze. Outside, her car started. The sound faded into the night. Inside, the kitchen light was still on, shining over that cold piece of paper. I picked it up, my hand shaking like it had no strength left. Just a few lines, and they erased an entire life we had built together. My daughter was asleep in her room, hugging the teddy bear I made for her from scraps of fabric. She had no idea that when morning came, there'd be no mom in the kitchen flipping pancakes. I looked at her door, half closed. My chest felt crushed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run after her. But my legs wouldn't move. So I went to the garage, the only place in this house that still felt like mine. On the cold cement floor, a beer bottle lay on its side, glass glinting under the dim yellow light. In the corner, a wooden table I'd been building, unfinished, one leg still missing, leaning, ready to collapse. I sat down and just stared at it. I'm a carpenter. All my life, I believed no piece of wood was too rough, too broken, to be turned into something useful. I know how to mend, how to patch every crack. But that night, I had to face a truth I never wanted to admit. I could fix wood, but I didn't know how to fix a marriage. That was already broken. The clock on the garage wall ticked, each sound mocking my helplessness. I gripped my chisel so tight my fingertips went numb. Every strike of the hammer was supposed to build a home. But now, that home had fallen apart, right in front of me. I looked at that half-broken table, and I realized it was me, unfinished, unsteady, one hit away from falling apart. I whispered to it, like it could hear me. She took everything, except you and my daughter. That night, I didn't cry. Tears had dried up long ago. I just sat there, listening to the wind slipping through the garage door, the rain tapping on the roof. And for the first time in my life, I felt myself split in two. But in that silence, a thought flickered. If I can rebuild broken pieces of wood, maybe, just maybe, I can learn to rebuild myself. My name is Matthew. I'm 36. People in the neighborhood call me the carpenter guy. I'm not rich, not famous. All I have is an old garage, a set of worn-out tools, and these calloused hands that smell of wood and paint. But for me, that's enough. I was born in Ohio, into a working-class family. My dad was a carpenter too. He died when I was 19. He left me the garage, and one last piece of advice. Never look down on a piece of wood. What people throw away, if you put your heart into it, it can live again. I carried those words with me. They became my compass. I met Sarah when I was 27. I was buying cleaning supplies at the grocery store. She was behind the checkout counter, smiling. That smile knocked the air out of me. Sarah wasn't flashy, but her eyes, bright, warm. We dated. A year later, we got married. The wedding was simple. A few dozen friends, a small church, no diamond ring, just a silver band, engraved with the word forever. Sarah laughed and said, "I don't need anything more than you." That day, I believed we'd walk together for the rest of our lives. After the wedding, we moved into a small house. The garage became my workshop. By day, I sawed, hammered, sanded. At night, I took small orders to save money. It wasn't easy, but we were happy. Sometimes Sarah would sit beside me, watching me build a bookshelf, smiling, saying, "I believe in you. This shop will grow." I believed in her belief, and I worked harder. When our daughter, Emily, was born, I found a new reason to keep going. I'll never forget holding her for the first time. Her tiny hands waving, her eyes shut tight. I whispered, "Daddy will protect you, I promise." From then on, the garage wasn't just filled with the smell of wood. It echoed with her laughter. Emily loved running around, picking up scraps of wood. "Daddy, make me a boat." I carved, sanded, painted, and placed it in her little hands. She hugged it tight. Her eyes lit up. And for me, that moment was worth more than any big contract. We had our little routines. Friday nights, pizza, cartoons on the couch. Sunday mornings, I flipped pancakes. Emily stood on her chair, sprinkling chocolate chips on top. Sarah laughed, snapping pictures. "You two look exactly alike." Summer days, I took Emily to baseball games. We drove my old pickup, paint peeling, engine loud. But to her, it was the adventure truck. We blasted country songs, sang along to those worn-out lyrics all the way to the stadium. Emily with popcorn in her hands, cheering, and me, just watching her smile, feeling light as air. But then, things started to change. Sarah changed. Not overnight, bit by bit. She began to compare. Linda's husband just bought a new house. And us? Still living with that old garage. I laughed, told her we didn't need money to be happy. But my words didn't calm her. The pressure grew heavier. I built tables, chairs, shelves. Enough to live. But never enough for more. Sarah wanted more. Trips, brands, a bigger house. I wanted to save for Emily's future. We started to argue. One night, I brought in a wooden shelf I had made for Sarah, hoping it would make her smile. She barely looked. Coldly said, "Can't you make something that actually sells for more?" I froze, holding that shelf in my arms, not knowing what to say. That night, I went back to the garage, alone, the saw buzzing in the dark. I don't blame Sarah completely. She once believed in me, but that belief wore down. Under bills, comparisons, unfulfilled dreams. She stopped sitting with me in the garage, stopped laughing when I handed Emily a new wooden toy. Instead, she came home late, said she had meetings, projects. I kept telling myself, every marriage has rough seasons. I just had to be patient. So I poured myself into Emily. She was the only light in a house growing colder. Every night, I tucked her into bed, told her stories about wood, about a talking table, a singing chair. She laughed, then drifted off. I sat there whispering, "You'll never go without love. Not as long as I'm here." But when I stepped out of her room, back into the dark living room, where Sarah no longer waited, I felt the emptiness growing inside me. The garage lights stayed on late. The old radio played country songs. Emily still laughed, hugging the toys I made. But underneath all those sounds was a silence I tried to ignore, until that night. The night it revealed a truth I never wanted to face. I used to believe that if I was patient enough, if I loved enough, every crack could be fixed. But life isn't like wood. A crack in wood, with glue, sanding, the right touch, can become part of the grain. But a crack in a marriage, the more you try to cover it, the more it shows. One evening, I was fixing the hinge on the kitchen cabinet. Sarah's phone rang. She stepped outside, lowered her voice. I tried to keep working, but my ears caught the words, "Don't worry, he'll never suspect a thing." I froze. Who was he? I stepped out. Sarah startled, forcing a smile. "Just a client. You're overthinking." I nodded, but my chest tightened. That one line echoed all night. Lying beside her, hearing her steady breath, all I could hear was, "He'll never suspect a thing." I wanted to shake her awake, to demand answers. But instead, I told myself, maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I shouldn't destroy everything over one careless sentence. A week later, I checked our savings account. The money I'd set aside for Emily's college, over $5,000, gone. The bank confirmed Sarah's card had withdrawn it. That night, after Emily slept, I asked her, "Why did you take the money? It's a lot." She set down her wine glass, frowning. "I bought you a gift. You worked so hard. I wanted you to relax, take a trip." I forced a smile. "A $5,000 gift? I don't need anything that fancy." She shrugged, turned away. I sat there, my chest heavy. There was no trip. Only she knew where that money went. Later that night, I sat alone in the garage, a beer open in my hand, untouched, staring at the unfinished planks, empty inside, asking myself, is it my fault? I don't make enough. If I were more successful, maybe she wouldn't have to do this. Another evening, Sarah said she had a late meeting. She told me to put Emily to bed. While clearing the table, I found her wallet. Inside, a receipt from a high-end restaurant downtown. Dinner for two. A bottle of wine. $200. The date burned my chest. Our wedding anniversary. My hands shook holding that slip of paper. It felt like it weighed a ton. That night, when she came home, I asked, "Where was the meeting?" "At the office," she replied quickly, eyes avoiding mine. I placed the receipt on the table. She hesitated, then said, "A coworker invited me. I didn't want you to misunderstand. That's why I hid it." I laughed, hollow. I wanted to say, not wanting me to misunderstand, or not wanting me to know the truth, but the words died in my throat. That night, I pulled out a wooden necklace I'd made for Sarah when we first got married. She used to wear it everywhere. The last time I saw it was in the photo attached to that receipt, around her neck. But not with me. I held it, my fingers trembling. The smell of wood, so familiar. Yet this time, it reeked of betrayal. I began to notice her eyes, once filled with warmth and trust. Now only irritation. One evening, I brought her flowers, hoping to spark something, anything. She glanced, coldly said, "Don't waste money on useless things." Her words, like a hammer striking my chest. I stood there, holding the bouquet, for a moment. Then carried it to the garage, set it on the workbench. Petals falling, mixing with sawdust, like something beautiful, fading away. Mark, a name that used to mean brotherhood. We went to high school together, drank beer in this very garage. When Emily was little, he even babysat once. I used to call him my brother. One afternoon, at a gas station, I saw them. Sarah, sitting in the car, with Mark. She was wearing the blue dress I gave her on her 30th birthday. Hair loose, leaning close, laughing with him. I froze. Blood turned to ice. I wanted to storm up, pound the window, scream, "Mark, you drank beer in my garage. You held my daughter in your arms. How could you?" But my feet wouldn't move. I turned away, feeling torn in two. That night, lying beside Sarah, she faced the other way, breathing steady. I stared at the ceiling. I wanted to ask, why him? Why Mark? But instead, I whispered only in my head, maybe I'm not enough. Maybe all I'll ever be is this old garage. From then on, silence built a wall between us. I stopped asking. She stopped explaining. We lived like strangers under one roof. Emily began to notice. One night she asked, "Daddy, why is Mom gone so much?" I froze. I couldn't let her see this truth. So I hugged her tight, whispered, "Mom's just busy, sweetheart, but Daddy's always here." She nodded, clutching the teddy bear I'd sewn from scraps. She drifted off to sleep, and I sat there, tears spilling quietly, too afraid to let her see. One night, Sarah came home late. She dropped her purse on the table, went to shower. Her phone lit up. A message. "I miss you. Same place tomorrow?" My heart pounded like a drum. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. One line was enough. I sank into the chair, staring out at the garage. The half-built table still standing there. Unsteady, just like me. And I knew the storm I had tried to ignore was now at my door. That message, "I miss you. Same place tomorrow." Just a few words, but enough to carve the truth, clear as a saw mark in wood. I set the phone down, heard the water running in the shower. Sarah was still there, in this house, as if nothing had changed. But inside me, everything had already collapsed. The next morning, I got up early, made pancakes for Emily, coffee for Sarah, set the table carefully, like I could turn back time to those peaceful mornings. Sarah came down, glanced at the table, sighed. "You don't need to do this, I'm late." She sipped her coffee, left the pancakes untouched, then walked out. The door slammed, the kitchen empty again. Emily looked at me confused. "Daddy, why didn't Mom eat with us?" I forced a smile, put a pancake on her plate. "Nah, Sasha. She's busy, sweetheart. Eat up." But as she lowered her head, I saw her eyes glisten. I swallowed hard. Deep down, I knew Sarah was too far gone to come back. In the days after, she didn't even hide it. She came home late. Her clothes carried a perfume I didn't know. One night, I asked softly, "Where were you?" She snapped back, "Are you keeping tabs on me? I'm not a child." Her words, like a knife. I clenched my fists under the table, blood in my mouth from biting my lip. But Emily sat there, drawing, unaware. So I stayed silent. That evening, Emily came running. "Daddy, look! I drew us. You're making a table. Mom's smiling, and I'm in the middle." I laughed, my chest warming for a moment. But Sarah just glanced, and kept eating. No word. Emily froze. Her hand shook. The drawing smeared with color. She laid it down, and ate quietly. I looked at it. 3 faces. One left blank. One unfinished. A family half-drawn, just like ours. I decided to do something I hadn't in a long time. I drove to pick Sarah up after work, hoping maybe my presence would remind her she still had a family. But when I pulled into the lot, my heart stopped. She wasn't alone. Mark was with her. Mark, the man who drank beer with me in this garage, who once babysat Emily, who called me his brother. And there they stood, Sarah in the red coat I gave her for Christmas, laughing, Mark leaning close, and she didn't pull away. The sight hit me like a sledgehammer. I wanted to rush over, to smash that picture apart, to grab him by the throat, scream. You held my daughter. You sat at my table. How could you sleep with my wife? My hands shook on the wheel. But then I thought of Emily, of my promise. You'll never go without love. If I lost control, everything would shatter. So I swallowed the rage, turned the wheel, drove away. But Sarah's laughter that night, the laughter I once loved, haunts me still. That night, after Emily was asleep, I gathered my courage. I asked, Sarah, do you want to tell me about Mark, about the messages? I know. She looked up, eyes like ice. So what? What do you want from me? You've never been enough. I'm tired of living in that garage, smelling of wood. I need more. My throat tightened. I've tried. I've done everything for this family. She shrugged. Maybe you think so. But for me, it's not enough. Mark gives me what you can't. I wanted to rage, to throw everything. But instead, I collapsed into the chair, hands gripping my head, tears I couldn't hold back. The next morning, Emily ran into the garage, holding yesterday's drawing. Daddy, I didn't finish. Today I'll fix it. She picked up her crayons, carefully colored my face, then paused over Sarah's. Her hand hovered. She whispered, Daddy, does Mom still smile with us? My throat closed. All I could do was pull her close. Whisper, Mom's just busy, sweetheart, but Daddy's always here. She nodded, trying to smile. But I knew. She understood more than she let on. Kids can feel the cold, no matter how much we pretend. That night, I sat in the garage, staring at the half-built table. I thought of my father's words. Never look down on a piece of wood. If you put your heart into it, it can live again. I had promised to keep this family together. Promised my father. Promised in that church. But now, I had failed. I let my best friend betray me. I let the woman I loved drift away. I let my daughter hold a broken picture and wonder if her mother still smiled. I clenched my fist, slammed it against the wood. The echo cracked through the garage. Harsh, empty. But no one heard. No one cared. The day I feared most finally came. Sarah stood in the kitchen, arms crossed. Her voice cold, cutting. Matthew, I can't live like this anymore. I've found someone else. I'm leaving. The room froze, each word like a blade cutting into me. I had suspected for months, but hearing it from her lips still tore me apart. I gripped the edge of the table, veins rising in my hands. In my head, only one name, Mark, pounding, again and again, like a hammer striking my skull. I wanted to scream. Why him? He drank beer in my garage. He held Emily in his arms. He called me brother. I wanted to smash everything in that kitchen, to drag Sarah back, make her look me in the eye. But then I heard it. The scratch of a pencil from the living room. Emily, coloring her unfinished family drawing. I swallowed the rage. If I exploded now, my daughter would watch her parents tear each other apart. I couldn't. So I bit down. Let the anger devour me from the inside. My voice shook, but I forced it calm. And Emily, you're leaving her too. Sarah looked down, avoided my eyes. She'll be better off with you. I can't take her. I went numb. The same woman who once stayed up all night nursing our child through a fever now spoke of leaving her behind like nothing. And then, sharper than a knife, she added, Mark will take care of me. Don't worry. His name echoed through my house like a curse. I bit my lip until blood filled my mouth. I turned away, walked into the garage. The unfinished table still stood there. I slid my wedding ring off and slammed it onto the wood. The sound of metal against grain. Cold, final. Sarah followed, stopping at the door. I looked at her, steady. Take your suitcase. Take the money. Take your love for him. But there's one thing you will never take, Emily. She needs someone who stays, not someone who leaves. Her eyes flickered at the sight of the ring, but she turned away. And I knew this was the end. That night, she dragged her suitcase to the door, the wheels rattling on the tiles, like the sound of a heart breaking. Emily ran out, startled. Mom, where are you going? Sarah knelt, hugged her, whispered quickly, I have to go away for a while. Emily clung to her sleeve, crying. No, you promised you'd be here when I got home from school. Sarah trembled. But still, she pried those tiny fingers away. Emily kicked, screamed, but Sarah kept walking. I grabbed Emily, holding her shaking body in my arms. The door slammed. The sound echoed through the house. Emily collapsed on the floor, clutching her half-finished drawing. The crayon slipped from her hand, rolling across the tiles. On the page, 3 figures. 2 colored, 1 left blank. The mother's face, empty. I wanted to chase after Sarah, to rip the night apart. But instead, I dropped to my knees, holding my daughter, our tears mixing together. Later, as I stood in the garage, the wedding ring slipped from the table, rolled into the darkness. Gone. Like Sarah. Emily sobbed, clutching her drawing. "Daddy, isn't Mom going to finish it?" I held her tight. No words came, because I knew that drawing would never be finished. Just like this family. I sat in the garage all night, the unfinished table before me, the ring lost in the shadows. I stared at my scarred hands, heard my father's words. Never look down on a piece of wood. If you put your heart into it, it can live again. I had failed to keep my wife, but I could not fail my daughter. I could not fail myself. I picked up the hammer, drove nails into the wood. Each strike, a pain, a promise. I raised that table back up. And deep inside, I knew I was raising myself back up too. Outside, Sarah's car faded into the night. Inside, Emily cried herself to sleep, clutching that unfinished drawing. And me, for the first time in months, I faced the truth. Sarah was gone. The family was broken. But from this garage, I would rebuild, for my daughter, and for myself. The door slammed shut behind Sarah. The sound echoed through the house. Her suitcase wheels rolled away and faded into nothing. In the living room, Emily collapsed, clutching her unfinished drawing, crying uncontrollably. I held her, letting our tears fall together. The next morning, the house felt like a stranger's place. Her chair, empty. Her coffee cup, gone. The closet wide open, hangers swaying bare. Emily walked out, hair messy, eyes swollen. She looked around, whispered, "Daddy, is Mom really gone?" My throat closed. I wanted to say, "No, she'll be back." But I couldn't lie. I pulled her close, whispered, "Yes, she's gone. But I'm here. I'll never leave you." She nodded weakly. And in that moment, I saw her grow older by years. Overnight, news spread quickly through the neighborhood. The neighbors' stares carried pity and gossip. When I walked Emily to school, I heard the whispers. Poor girl. Emily heard too. Her little hand gripped mine tight, pressed herself against me, as if afraid someone would take her away. One afternoon, she asked me, "Daddy, my friend said Mom left because she didn't like me. Is that true?" I dropped to my knees, looked her in the eyes, choked out, "No, never. This isn't your fault. Mom left because of her choice. Not because of you. You're amazing, Emily." She broke into tears, wrapped her arms around me, and in that moment, I knew I had to be both father and mother. The garage became our refuge. I buried myself in work. Emily sat nearby, coloring, stacking scraps of wood. One day, she handed me a small piece of wood, smiled softly. "Daddy, make me a little chair so I can sit next to you." I carved, sanded, painted. When it was done, she sat proudly, clapped her hands. Perfect. Now I have my own spot in the garage. That moment, the garage wasn't just a workshop. It became our shelter. A few days later, Emily quietly hung her unfinished drawing on the garage wall, her mother's face still blank. She left it that way, as if to remind us, every day, of what was missing. One night, I heard her sobbing in her sleep. I rushed in. She whimpered, "Mom, don't go." Eyes shut tight, tears streaming. I sat down, held her close, whispered, "Daddy's here, Mom's not, but I'll never leave you." Hearing my voice, she grabbed my shirt, slowly drifted back into sleep. I stayed by her bed till morning, back aching, eyes burning, but I'd take the pain, if it meant she didn't have to face her nightmares alone. Another afternoon, I picked her up from school. I saw them, Sarah in Mark's car, both smiling, as if nothing had ever happened. She spotted me, hesitated, then turned her face away. Emily saw too. Her small hand trembled, squeezing mine. She whispered, "Daddy, does Mom not want to look at me anymore?" My chest tightened. I forced the words, "No, it's not that. Let's go home." But inside, I knew the truth. Sarah had chosen another life, and I had to help Emily accept it, no matter how cruel it was. That night, I sat alone in the garage, stared at the dusty mirror. The face staring back was gaunt, eyes hollow, but different, more determined. I remembered my father's words. If you put your heart into it, even broken wood can live again. I placed my hand on my chest, whispered, I failed with her. But I won't fail with Emily. I won't let her grow up in the dark. I opened my phone, scrolled to Sarah's name. My heart begged me to type, "Come back. Emily needs you. I need you." But I stopped. Deleted it all. Because begging never keeps someone who's already chosen to leave. I set the phone down, picked up the hammer. Each strike echoed through the garage. Each strike, a promise. I will rebuild, even if it's just the two of us. The next morning, Emily ran into the garage, carrying her little chair. She smiled. "Daddy, let's build a table for my room today." I stared at her. The sadness still lingered, but in her eyes, a light had returned. I nodded, rested my hand on her shoulder, and in the morning sun, streaming through the garage window, I knew the rebuilding had begun, not just with wood, but with our hearts. It's been months since Sarah walked out that door. The house, once so familiar, now carried a different rhythm, quieter, but stronger. The garage, once just a dusty workshop, had become the heart of our lives. Every morning, Emily sat on the little chair I built for her, watching me saw, sand, hammer. She'd chatter about school, hand me her new drawings, but always, the mother's face was left blank. I never told her to finish it. I knew some spaces only time can fill. One day, a customer ran his hand across a table I'd made. He whispered, "This table has a soul." I smiled, answered softly, "It's not just a table. It's how I keep myself from breaking apart." When the door closed behind him, I glanced at Emily. She was drawing again. This time, just two figures, her and me. She looked up, smiling. "Daddy, this is enough, right?" I held the paper tight. My chest trembled. I nodded. "Yes, just us, and that's enough." Still, there were nights when the garage went quiet, and old memories returned. Sarah's laughter, Mark's face, the sound of suitcase wheels rolling away, scars in wood that never fade. One evening, while cleaning the workbench, I found it. The wedding ring, the one that had rolled into the corner that night. I wiped it clean, placed it in a drawer. Sometimes I'd open it, stare at the cold shine under the yellow light. Each time my chest ached. Then I closed it again. The ring was no longer a symbol of marriage. It was a reminder. I had broken, but I had stood back up. One night, I caught my reflection in the dusty mirror. A gaunt face, hair hanging low. I asked myself, losing a wife, does it mean losing everything? Then I looked over. Emily, fast asleep on her little chair, arms wrapped around her teddy bear. I whispered, "No, I thought losing her was losing everything. But what I kept is everything." And in that moment, the eyes staring back at me were no longer weary. They were steady. If you're hearing my story, maybe you're sitting in an empty room, or in a silent car at night, feeling like the whole world has left you behind. I've been there. I know how much it hurts. I know the urge to scream, to explode, but having to hold it in. I know what it's like to wonder, was it my fault? And I know, no answer feels enough. But I promise you this, as long as you breathe, you can rebuild. Maybe not with the woman who left. Maybe not with the family that broke. But with yourself. Or with a child waiting in the next room. Or with a new part of life you haven't seen yet. The next morning, Emily ran into the garage, pulled my hand. "Daddy, let's build another table, for my room." I looked at her. The sadness was still there. But in her eyes, a light had returned. I nodded, rested my hand on her shoulder. And in the morning sun streaming through the garage window, I realized we didn't need a perfect family. We just needed each other. And that I will carry for the rest of my life. She left us, but I know I will never leave my daughter.